Why are you looking at me like that?
It's showtime.
Oh, didn't even realize we're live. Hi.
Hi. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hmm. Hmm.
How are you doing?
Ah.
Out of sorts.
Need to catch my breath today. Today has just been boop, 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 boop. One thing after another. Today was a good day, though. So I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good also. Just sharing the link.
Yeah.
Just sharing our link. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how was last week? Another busy week?
Yeah, I mean each week, yeah. Another busy week. I don't hey. Were we here yesterday?
It feels that way, right?
Yeah. Like time is just going by really, really fast.
Rapidly. We are in March.
We are very much in March,
Yeah,
indeed.
so we're coming to the end of the first quarter very soon, which is
It's crazy. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's a
It's
little crazy.
crazy.
And so much is happening, but I'm grateful, and
Yes.
I'm very grateful. It's a new season. It's a very busy season, but yeah, I'm grateful. This camera looks like it's about to fall down. I'm not interested in that.
So today's topic is rather fitting. I
Huh?
said today's topic will be rather fitting.
Oh my
What I
God.
think everybody's facing and going through at this time. But yeah, let's see what we can do to help each other.
Yeah. So what are you grateful for today?
Huh?
What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for um life. Um, I think over this weekend, a lot of several things kind of shook me a bit. Um, the fragility of life, that contemplation, those moments when you go through those contemplations. So I would say I am grateful for life. I'm grateful for, um, you know, family, being around, being able to contact friends, having persons to reach out to. I'm grateful for community also.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend was also a very nice, one of my communities, a very nice exchange. So I'm grateful for communities, especially ones that are selected and brought together
Yeah.
for such a time as this. So yeah, that's my gratitude list for now. What are you grateful for?
You know, this whole topic just puts me in a big space of being grateful. I'm grateful for the tough times. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for the growth. Um, so once we decided on this topic, it just had me reflecting. This week is a very significant week for me.
Yeah.
Um, I celebrate 20 years of marriage,
Woo-hoo!
and that is super significant, you know. Just so much to be grateful for. Marriage, marriage is not easy, right? And to have made it this far, but God.
What
And
got in there?
I'm just in a very grateful space generally, just everything about my life. I'm like, I'm right here right now, and I'm grateful.
Oh, okay. happy anniversary when it comes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's the end of the gratitude minute.
So, guys, if you're watching for the first time, my name is Janice Dakers Jones, and I am the CEO and founder of Biz Head Start Jamaica Limited. And I work with entrepreneurs to help them build and grow sustainable businesses. And my beautiful co host is.
Hi everyone, Andrew McGibbon, founder and CEO of Disidentify, pastor, author. I work with humans. Like I work with people directly, not just pastoring, but coaching. The whole objective is to reform the way that we live, um, reform the way that we relate to each other, as well as how we do business. It's basically reforming life, but of course, in keeping with God's standards, recognizing that some things have not worked and some things have made us worse
Yep.
as a race. But we have a blueprint, and we just need to go back to that blueprint, and that's what we are missioned, and that's what my life is missioned to do.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for that in my life, to have you in my life.
Awesome.
Okay, so today now we're talking about University of Adversity. Woo,
Is what
whoa,
I know.
that's a loaded one.
What is that?
That's loaded. That's loaded. That's very loaded. So, you know, um, there's several school of thoughts about adversity, why it happens. Um, Worse, if you say, well, I'm a Christian, so why would God allow all of these things to happen? And, you know, it's it doesn't make sense. You know, a lot of times I think Christianity is sold incorrectly, that when you give your life to God, um, everything is all hunky dory and beds of roses. But the Bible says, in this life you will have trouble, but do not be dismayed. I've overcome.
Mhm.
So the fact of the matter is that there's some lessons. Adversity comes to teach us. It's not always the enemy, and that's also another myth that's associated with that. Um, Adversity builds in us strong characters if we decide to learn the lessons, and that's a big if. That's a choice we have to make. Um, there's a saying that you'll keep going around the mulberry bush until you learn the lesson. So I've learned that when adversity comes, I'm like, okay, God, what do I need to learn here now? Because I don't want to come back this way, and I don't want to stay here
Yeah.
because too much of my life I've spent right here, in that place of saying, but why is this happening to me? And it's not fair. And so you're the structured one. Please structure the conversation because I will go all over the place.
So, we read a devotional recently that had a similar, pretty much the same topic. And well, I was quoting from it. It said, the pathway to leadership
Mm,
almost always takes us through the valley of adversity.
oui.
So, you know, the pathway to leadership, does that mean that if I don't have a leadership, role or intention, this I'm not counted in this? Um, the answer is no. We are
Absolutely.
all called to lead.
To lead.
If we go back to the Genesis mandates,
Yeah.
we're all made in the image and likeness of God, and we're all commissioned to subdue and to govern the earth, right? Um, and so we are leaders by our birthright. And so
Yeah.
even life itself is designed in a way to facilitate the growth and development of a leader if they're not at that place yet. It's important for me to say if they're not at that place yet, because you can be in a situation today that feels like it's adversity, but because you have matured, the situation remains, but it no longer feels the same way.
Exactly.
Right.
Been there.
All right. So a lot of it has to do with you and less about the actual situation that you're in. And so these things are almost like props in a play where they're basically here to help to build your story and help to build you out as the leader God has made you to be. And so whether we like it or not, we're all enrolled.
We're enrolled in this university,
We're
right?
all enrolled in the university.
Wow, 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 wow. So
Yep.
there's this verse that has just been I've been meditating on. And as you mentioned, this whole thing about being a leader and that we're all called to be a leader. There's several things that come to mind. Well, let me just share the verse first. It's Matthew 5:14 to 16. Um, it's about being the light of the world, right? It just keeps coming back to me. It says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden."
Mhm.
So this assumes that you're a town, right? That's first thing. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. So if we're to read it, it says, "You are the light of the world." And you put this light on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. And then the word says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." So that's what we're called to do as leaders, to let our light shine. And what happens is that the Bible also says that we're born in sin, right? And shaped in iniquity, right? And so there are a lot of things that we learn growing up, a lot of lies we believe, lots of bad theology, lots of things.
Of
And what
course.
adversity does is almost through adversity, all of these things become unearthed. And it's I call adversity, it's almost like the peeling of an onion, just peeling away layers and layers of stuff that doesn't belong there anyway. And sometimes you feel really squeezed, and you feel like God is punishing you, or you feel like, this is so unfair, and you look over and you see people who live in these lives, and you say, but why do I have to go through this university of adversity? Why do I? And the other day I just came to the understanding, because it was always so, that I'm chosen. And because I'm chosen, I have to go through this process of refining. The Bible talks
Mhm.
about the refining of silver and gold. It's that process. It's refining the leader in you. It's refining who you're meant to be. It's I saw this video the other day of a making of a bowl, a beautiful bowl, but the process that it had to go through to end up looking so gorgeous, it looked painful, but the end result was amazing, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what adversity does. It
Yeah.
refines us. It
I think the more you understand God's heart,
Mhm.
is the more, and the word says it, God does not want anyone to be lost, right? He
Mhm.
created us human beings. It doesn't matter how you started out. His love for you is perfect. And his desire is for all men to be saved.
Yeah.
But we have this thing called choice, and God has this thing called his word and his name, his word that is above his name. And so, whatever has been said, whatever principles have been laid down, cannot be reversed. Um, so, I'm saying that to say everybody is in the University of Adversity. I know it is easy for us to look at other people, compare, conclude. assume all kind of things, but everybody is in a university. We're not facing the same situation. We're not all doing the same course at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hence why their lives don't look like yours, but they're in another course, right? And
Exactly.
sometimes you're looking at somebody else and they may be repeating their course for the 16th time and you don't even know, right?
Yeah.
So don't fall into the trap of comparing and going to forming conclusions that are not right. Everybody is in this university. Another thing about the university, guys, is we naturally don't want to go through hard time, and we naturally will find ways to escape and to ease it. The way that life is so perfectly designed and structured, you can't skip school. If you skip school, you are going to repeat.
You're
And
going to repeat.
it's just
Mm.
automatically designed in the fabric of life. You are just going to automatically repeat. You can't force yourself up. You can't fool, we always say you can't fool nature, you can't fool the universe, right? Same principle, just that God created nature, God created the universe. There is just no fooling anything that is God, right? So you can't shortchange, you can't skip the line, you can't skip a grade. So I'm saying that to say, even though our natural response sometimes is to go in the opposite direction and to ease the pain, it just means that you're delaying it until later. You
Yeah,
still have to face the course. You
it's
still have
going
to pass
to
the course.
happen. Yeah. Hey, Carmen. It's for sure. You can slow it down. You can procrastinate. It's gonna come. It's gonna come, and that is something that I've learned. You know, um, I remember one of the things that I took pride in was that I'm an independent person. And so I was always very big on taking care of myself, doing stuff myself. And God brought me to the place of where I literally had to rely on Him for my next every day. Not my next for something big, my next every day. He literally had to bring me to that place. And so I'm saying this to say that um, very often the things that you most hold on to, the things that you take pride in, those are some of the things that make you ripe for the university, you know. And the sooner you let go of them, the sooner you pass the course,
You go to the
you know,
next grade.
you go to the next grade. And there's always another grade, right? There is always
Always.
what you think, like, all right, it's time I matriculate now. There's always something else to learn,
No. Yeah.
until we meet him face to face. There's always something to learn.
Life
Um,
is the school.
it is the school. It is
Life
the
is a
school.
school of adversity.
Yeah, it is.
Uh, but since you mentioned that, I just want to mention that in recent times, I believe a lot of us, just by observation, comparison, reflection, you're feeling increased intensity. In the pressure, in the even in the hopelessness and the worry and the fear that comes along with it. You're just seeing that school getting harder. Life is just getting harder, and for some reason, it's so obvious that it wasn't. It was always bad, but it's almost like it feels like it's worse. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because one, it's a combination of lessons now accumulated because you didn't learn them before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the state of what's happening in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, including the fact that we are in a university of adversity, there is also the fact that we have an adversary, right, who is a part of this whole mix. So the enemy's plan is to steal, to kill, to destroy. And so even his work is intensifying in this season and in this period. So life is actually becoming more difficult. And we do have a lot more things to contemplate. So, from two sides, we're having it. We have the enemy who is working harder, right, at his agenda. but we also have an accumulation of our own courses that we have not passed, of our own lessons that we have escaped, of all the grades that we've tried to skip. We literally now get all of them accumulated because there's also this necessity to be in time.
Yeah.
And we can't shortchange time as defined by God. So when that time comes, you may have to learn 6 lessons one time, you
Yeah.
know? So I think as time goes on and we are going closer and closer to the day when he returns, it becomes more intense.
Yeah.
It will become more
Absolutely.
intense.
And if you're to even look back to when you were younger, and things seemed, a lot less intense, a lot less um, scary or just overwhelming. Um, and so it's a sign of the time too. In terms of where the world is going and what's happening in the world, there's certain factors that are now causing additional pressure. I mean, when you think of the global pandemic, that was what I would call something that created a big shift. It created a big shift in so many things,
And
right?
in different directions too.
Yeah, and in different directions. And now you're just trying to, like, hold on, hold on. This I was going on, and where people for a while, I noticed nobody's talking about it anymore, about going back to normal. You know, that when the pandemic came, it just shifted us out of this comfort of normal, and everything changed. So people weren't getting food, people weren't getting medicines, toilet paper, for crying out loud. You know, people didn't have human interaction because we were all isolated. We weren't going to church. We weren't. So many things shifted in what we knew as normal, and so sometimes the university ramp up and pull a major pop quiz on everybody, and
Yeah.
I know everybody has to readjust and has to come in line. And, like, I've always maintained, the University of Adversity can look like having an issue with somebody else. And when early on in this university for me, whenever I had a problem with anybody else, God always changed me. You understand? It always came back to me. So now I learned to say, when stuff happened, I said, okay, God, what do I need to do? And so you have to know, take all the learning that you've gotten up to this point and really start applying them.
Mm-hmm.
Really start applying them and say, well, Lord, don't bother to go to him and say, Lord, this is unfair. Honestly, it never worked. It never worked for me. You know what I'm saying? It never worked. Just going and saying, boy, it's unfair, or all that kind of thing. Just get right to the lesson. Don't waste any time going around the mulberry bush. Just get to the lesson and say, God, what do I need to learn right here, right now? Because the sooner you learn it, the sooner you matriculate to the next level.
Right. So what's the whole purpose of the university, guys?
God.
The university, as we started out, if you missed it, is really fulfilling what God said from Genesis. When He created us in His image and likeness, and He created us for the purpose of um, being fruitful, multiplying,
Right.
subduing the earth, governing it, right? To be representatives of Him. John spoke about shining our lights earlier, but you're shining so that men can see Him and His glory. So we really are here to glorify Him and to reflect Him.
Mhm.
Now, the further we are from that is the more intense adversity is going to be, because the whole purpose of life is to fulfill that which God has already spoken. And so life is now matching the state that we are in as a people, as a human race. It's both. It's both individually, but also collectively where we are, because we are interconnected and interdependent. Now, what is the purpose of this university? Same purpose of life. We are being prepared for, we are being perfected, we are being reconciled to purpose, and reconciled to our God. Now, why it have to so hard? Because we only respond to heat. Guys, think about it. When things don't squeeze us, we will not change. We love the comfort zone. We love when we are getting things done our way, right?
Yeah.
If there is no heat, if there is no squeezing, we are not
Go.
going to get up.
No. True.
So there has to be something that will be an antagonist, something that is going to push us, to change, and even something that is going to guide us so that we can be perfected, we can be prepared for even what is going to come in the rest of the university levels, and that
Yeah.
we can also be reconciled to purpose. So
Yeah.
that is the purpose of the university. Does that make it easier? No. But it
Oh,
makes a difference when you know that it's just not there because you did sin last week, or God is trying to curse you, or
yeah.
the things that we tell ourselves. This is part of that becoming. This is part of that emerging, the part of the stripping off what is false about us. And unfortunately, if we don't have adversity, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. That is so true. If we don't have heat, we're not going to respond.
Nope, 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 nope,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will everyone graduate with a PhD?
Nope.
No, because we still have that thing called choice.
Hmm.
And we choose how we'll respond. We choose whether we'll cooperate with God. We choose whether we're going to resist what He's doing. We choose whether or not we're constantly repeating our lessons and our tests. It really, really boils down to choice. And even though God tries, prompts, He really prompts and tries to push us, and send us messages and in all different ways. Even us doing this is a part of that process,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Our adversary is also doing his work too, because he's also sending us suggestions. Drop out of school, don't do this, indulge in what going to harm you. So all of that is happening at the same time. So therefore, it means at the end of time, some of us may end up with a certificate, some may end up with an associate degree, some may have masters, some may have them bachelors, some may have PhD, some may drop out, never even finish university. But what happens will be dependent on us. And that's what we want to know. Go into what's our response
Hmm.
to this. There ain't no avoiding it. There is no running from it. The university of adversity is life itself.
And
And
anything you're running from, all you're doing is delaying it.
all you're doing is delaying it. But why would you want to graduate from the university? Because there's actually something that we genuinely desire. We know these things that we desire. We just think that our idea of satisfaction is the way to get there. And that's often a trap. But God, who knows the beginning from the end, from the middle, and He knows what He placed in us, He knows who we are more than we do. He knows the state we need to be in to actually have true happiness, to have true joy and true peace. So there is a side note that says, listen, if you trust His process, and if you go with it, then there is a reward and there is a
Hmm.
satisfaction that comes from it.
Yeah.
Most of us don't like school, but we love to have the things behind our names because we see how it works for us in the world.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing. Everything that you invest in is going to give you some kind of reward. There is some kind of reaping to come later. So it's now to think about, okay, what is the reward from this university? What can I shift my focus to when the heat really turns up on me so that I can endure a little longer, so that I make it through the next minute? And then you shift again for the next minute and you make it through the next minute. And that's how you keep going until you've endured and finished one level and you go to the next. But yeah, that's what the University of Adversity is. It is life.
It is life. And when I think about how I can only talk from my experience of how there's some things that I've resisted for so long, you know, and my experience is that the more you resist it, it doesn't go away. It stays. It stays until you decide to learn the lesson,
Yeah.
right? And that reward that Andrea is talking about is there, but you have to go through the process. There's no skipping. There's no sitting down quietly and hoping that it will go away so you can just jump to the next level. There's none of that. You have to go through the process. It's just like it's when I think about gold or silver, the refining process. What it does is that it brings impurities to the surface so that it can be skimmed off. It's the same thing with life. Life puts us under pressure, and the same thing with a diamond. The diamond, the thing is put under extreme pressure, and what comes out is pure,
Beautiful.
and beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Um, I think the challenge, though, Andrea, to be very honest, is what's different about this university is you can go into a regular university and you can say, well, if I do this course and this course and this course, this can be my reward. Here's the thing, you have no idea what the course is like, right?
Mm.
The courses show up whenever you're finished with this other one, it just shows up,
Or
right?
whenever you need it.
Or whenever you need it. And so that the difference with the University of Adversity is that you have to trust your creator in that process. You have to trust God that He knows the curriculum that you need to take. And it's okay if you don't know it.
Hmm.
He puts you into this situation. And your posture, I always had a need to understand everything. And I cannot believe that God helped me to get over that. But I had a need to understand everything. And if I didn't understand, I wasn't going to move. I was stuck right here until it took me a long time to find out. I was like, hold on, you're only harming yourself. You're only slowing yourself down, And so my posture changed to, as I said before, okay, God, what do I need to learn now? Because I don't want to stay here. Because I realize the more I resist is the more I remain.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so I'm encouraging you guys, don't resist the lessons. Your posture needs to be all right. Number one, do you need to understand? No, you don't need to understand. If you say, I trust God with my life, then say, all right, God, what do I need to learn? And when He tells you, learn the lesson. So whether it is to forgive, whether it is learning how to love, whether it is learning how not to take offense, whether it is learning how to be humble, whether it is learning how to serve, there's so many lessons. All our personalities are different, and so the other thing is that no two courses are the same. Your course that you do in this university is completely different from my course. Everybody is different, right?
Custom built.
It's custom built. Every single course is custom built. And so it's useless comparing yourself to other people because your course is always going to be different from everybody else. It's completely useless, right? So you have to just the way to make it through this university is to have a posture that says, God, I trust you.
Yeah. It has to
You know,
start there.
it has to start there, you know. Um, yeah, it has to start there.
And notice who we said, we said God. Everything else will fail.
Yeah,
So we're not saying put your trust in anything else but in God.
yeah.
Right? He is the head of the university, the source of all things. So it is safe to put your trust there.
Yeah.
Um, John, the other one that came to mind, since we're always doing these reality things, is yes, our consequences also help to design the course that is set before us. Remember, it's
Mhm.
custom built. So it's going to be designed based on where you are, the state that you are in, but also the stage where you need to get to because of the plan God has for you.
Mhm.
All of these things bear factor into what course you face right now. But the truth is, the enemy or adversary still is in the mix. But here is the good part of it, especially when you are a believer. God works all things together for your good.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you can see something that was set up by the enemy, you don't have to be caught up with that and consumed with that. Because though you are surrounded, everything else is surrounded by God.
That's
And
right.
when He's covering you, He's the one who dictates how this is going to go. He sets the
Mm-hmm.
limits. The
Yeah.
enemy basically is a puppet,
Mm-hmm.
meaning he does what he does. He does messy stuff, him dirty and everything, but God still says no further than this. And
Yeah.
the reason why God will set the limits is because He says, all right, I'm going to use your little scheme. What you meant for evil, watch how I'm going to turn it out for good for my child. And this
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why you also have to trust God in the process, because you may end up siding with the enemy, making the situation worse,
But, yeah.
resisting what God is trying to do in your life and the grace He's trying to bring into the situation. So all of these things, guys, we have to bear in mind. You don't have to focus on the enemy. You just need to keep your eyes focused on God. Because even if the enemy sets you up, it is still God who is going to work it out for good. So I just wanted to share that with you until John comes back, because it's important for us to know the landscape we are in. Sometimes we end up getting caught up with focusing on what we think the enemy is doing, focusing on somebody who we may think is bad mind, focusing on your boss who is giving you a hard time, or even family members. Focus on one. You just need to focus on one. And that is to focus on God, because He's the one who controls the flow anyway. And if you
Mhm.
work with Him, He will work it out for your good.
Yeah.
So be encouraged, whatever situation you are in right now, because I know everyone is in a course right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, bar none, is
Bye.
in a course.
Yeah.
So be encouraged, fix, and turn back your eyes on God. We're going to go into what's our response, what's our posture, right? Now that we know we can't avoid the university of adversity, know that we know that trying to skip grades and levels and courses only means an accumulation and an intensifying in the future. What do we do now then to cooperate with life and to also get one step closer to the reward that we so desire? My first one is always wake up. So, what John and I are doing now is a part of helping you to wake up, is a part of talking the real stuff, giving context to the landscape so that you realize, hold on, I always resist, and it seems like a natural thing to do, but then resisting works against me. Okay, what can I do differently now? So there is that waking up and facing your truth that we all have to do. People will tell you, if you are a drug addict, if you are going through something in your life, one of the first steps is that you have to face the truth. You have to admit that there is a problem. Houston, we have a problem here,
You have a problem.
right? And that's a part of the wake up process. A very significant admission is we need God. That's a part of the wake up process. And that is the biggest thing that
Yeah.
we all need to come to. We need God. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Poor in spirit is talking about those who recognize that they need God, that there is a deficiency, that they are not sufficient without Him.
Mm-hmm.
And He says, once you recognize that, you will be blessed. So that's the first thing, to recognize I need God. Ready for number two?
Yep.
Number two is humble yourself, my friend.
Do it.
Humble thyself. in recognizing that you need God, you also have to acknowledge that He is God. You have to recognize that while He's your friend, while He loves you, while He cares about you, provides for you, at the end of the day, He is still God. He is holy, and we therefore have to reverence Him. As Trisha says, hold my corner. For real, you have to hold your corner sometime and just realize what is what, and say, big man, you're the big man. And that's what humbling oneself is. It's just basically recognizing that He's bigger than you are less, and you are acknowledging that relative status and that relative position between you and God. But it's also being honest enough to say, I need your help, God. That's
Mhm.
humility. And a lot of us don't like to say that, especially to other human beings, because we know how we stay and people will take advantage of you. But God is not a human being like us, right?
Yeah.
Jesus is human, but He is God. So His nature is very different, very perfect. And
Yeah.
so we can be humble, we can be vulnerable before God because it actually works for our good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's number three?
All right. So as we get to number three, it is also the posture of not resisting what's happening.
Hmm.
It's hot, guys. The pressure heavy. The water feel like like you're going to drown because it's coming over you, right? Don't resist. You ever see somebody trying to rescue somebody in water and them fight them off? And then you will now almost make the other person who trying to rescue you drown because you fight them off. It's like that. Don't resist.
Don't
When
re-
you are being saved, don't resist.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
resist. Yeah. And then also seek answers from God first. And the reason why I'm saying this is the enemy is still going to give you suggestions. He's always going to try to lead you in the wrong direction. So there's always going to be these ideas and thoughts that come into your mind. You are going to be responding to your own fear, right? Mistakes in the past, stuff like that. And so even would want to trip over yourself. You would want to protect yourself because self-preservation is what we do naturally, but it's not always the best thing in every circumstance.
And here's something I think I used to do a whole lot. Anybody who I can find to gripe to and complain to, oh boy, I would just gripe and complain
Mm-hmm.
because it, I don't know, it just made me feel justified. Like, oh my gosh, this horrible thing is happening to me. And if we complain, we remain
Mm-hmm.
exactly where we are. And so our posture has to be, we have to get into an offensive posture where we're now seeking the answers, but we have to seek the answers from the right place.
Right, right. That's the thing, eh?
Yeah,
Not from this. Not. I mean, you can have good counsel, but my thing is go to God first.
yeah.
Ask God the questions first. Seek guidance from God first. There's so much already stated in the Bible that you
Hmm.
don't even need me to tell you what to do because it's some things are just plain in the Bible.
Yeah,
So even if you don't pick it up and you go to counsel, you go to someone who is wise, whatever is said to you or suggested to you must still come back to what's in the Word of God. So
yeah.
that's a check and balance. You're safe. Check and balance. If somebody tells you to do something that you know is wrong, that don't make no sense. That cannot sound advice. And you can know when something is wrong also. So asking God the questions, but also seeking answers from Him, whether it's from Him directly, if you have that kind of relationship with Him, through prayers, reading the Word. What does the Word say? What did Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this circumstance? Asking yourself those questions so that you will know how to respond in a situation.
And
Um,
sometimes, Andrea, the most important thing that you can do is that having asked is to be still. Be
that's number.
still.
We're going to number three now.
Be still.
Yeah. So the number three is the wait. If you ask a question, you need to wait for the answer. And sometimes the answer is not going to come immediately. Sometimes you will get your answer immediately. But even if you get your answer immediately, it's going to have an element of waiting in there.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's an element of waiting. There's always that season where we have to wait. And the waiting period is very, very important because I'm going to list several things to you that you master in a waiting period. You master to study the word. When you're in waiting mode, you will now have time to even get into the word. You're hungry, you're thirsty because you're looking for answers too, right? You're looking for the sign that God is going to send you. So you're going to spend more time in the word. You will find that when you're waiting, you also become more gracious, even towards yourself. But then you also recognize even the things you have. So gratitude tends to improve in those seasons of waiting. There's
Mhm.
just something about waiting, because waiting causes you to shut down your own self and your natural inclination to be a busybody and to take things in your own hands and to control the situation and to get things done your way. But when you are obedient and you have to wait on the Lord and you've taken that posture that I'm not going to move until God has given me a clear answer, that period of waiting allows you to develop your character and it allows you to develop your relationship with God. So, as I say, you end up studying the word more because you're pursuing answers. Your heart of gratitude improves because now you're paying attention. You're basically slowed down. So now you begin to see all the things that would normally pass you by, right? And so you begin to see a family. You start seeing the good side and the bad, but you will see more of the good side that you would normally have seen before. You start being appreciative of the little things. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, the little things matter some more. And
Yeah.
as this is, you start gardening, you start planting,
Yep.
you start doing these little things, and then all of a sudden, you're noticing that you're learning to just breathe again. You're learning to just pause. You're learning to slow down. What else happens during the wait season? You pray more because you're so conscious now of your dependency and your
Mhm.
desperation and your need for God. You're going to communicate more. You're going to want to pull down answers more. You're going to want his comfort more. So you're going to go into his presence. So therefore, you end up even having more worship time. Every time we're having that low period, we tend to run to God. Most people do that, John, when things every
Yes.
Christmas period.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So seasons of waiting are actually good seasons. Seasons when we are low are actually very good seasons because those are seasons of growth. What else happens during the waiting season? You tend to practice to do the right thing because you
Mhm.
are now so conscious and you're walking on thin ice almost. You are
Yeah.
now going to be so intentional about what you do and what you don't do, what you entertain, what you don't entertain, who you hang around, who you don't hang around, what you listen to, what you watch, and what you don't. So you become more intentional in those seasons. During the waiting season, it's also a good time to use up the mirror and use up the Holy Spirit. When we're busy, we tend to forget that the Holy Spirit is with us,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And when we are forced to slow down, we become more conscious of ourselves. We do more introspection, more examination. We ask ourselves more questions, but then we also ask for help more, right? So we're also building a relationship with the Holy Spirit. Um, we also spend more time with Christ, and because of spending time with the Holy Spirit, praying, etc., we're also becoming more Christ-like,
Yeah.
right? And then we also want to be around people who have Christ-like minds. So all of these things are happening while we are in a slum, while we're in a waiting season, while we're not feeling our best. But somehow we are growing in those seasons. And this growth is so priceless. What else happens in the waiting season? You get to ask more questions. So you're still asking God questions. Lord, what are you showing me? And Jan started talking about that earlier. What are you showing me about myself? What is this lesson about? What is this period about? What have I missed? What do I need to see, Lord?
Yeah.
And also, what do you want me to do?
Mhm.
What do you want me to do in this season? Waiting, I've said before, allows you to see things differently. And I'm going to say to you guys, make the effort to pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention at that time. Pay attention to the things that would normally distract you easily. Pay
Hmm.
attention to the things that normally divert your attention, the things that deplete your energy, rob you of joy, the things that you would normally do habitually. You start now just looking and scanning through your life and saying, but why do I do this? This is not even healthy. Why do I keep doing this? And then afterwards, when I do it, I feel like crap. Why do I keep doing that? You
Yeah.
find that your awareness becomes so heightened. You become very self aware during that
Hmm.
time. So I'm saying join in with that and pay attention and begin to make some decisions about your life. I'm not going to do that anymore, or I'm going to do that some more because that helps me, you know?
Herein lies the paradox of the University of Adversity. And I always describe it to people as the best of times and the worst of times.
Yeah.
Right? I I mean, I've been through some really, really tough places, but I regret none of it because the lessons that I've learned from it are so exponential in my life that um I'm like, as you say, if there's no heat applied, there's no need to change, right? I don't know if those situations hadn't come that I would have learned those lessons. And so
Mm,
the beauty of adversity is that it doesn't come with just one hand of bad. It comes with the tough times, but it also brings really great times. All of those things that you talk about in the wait, all of those are pluses. All of those are pluses. And so that's the whole paradox of this time. A lot of times we fear it and we don't want to go through it, but it is also a great time. When I think about the time when I was, call it, in the pit, it was at times it felt horrible, but then I had some serious mountaintop experiences based on the lessons I learned, based on the interaction with God, based on just growing in God, just learning about myself and becoming a better person. All of those things I think of as mountaintop experiences, and
mhm,
it pales in comparison to the heat. Honestly, it does, and I know it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it, but that's what it is. When it's almost like, to me, I'm going through this dark place, and then I see something shining, and it's gold. You find, or you
mhm,
find a diamond. That's like, those are the type of experiences that you're in this place and you're like, Lord, how did I get here? And you could ask 50 million questions of, Lord, it's not fair, or why are you allowing this, or all of these different things. um but I can tell you that your posture going through this university is important.
mm,
You stay longer at certain levels, the more you resist.
mm,
And you advance when you recognize that these are lessons. If you think about a university course, you're going into a course and you're saying, okay, I want to learn. So you come prepared. You come prepared with notebooks. You buy the syllabus or whatever it is you need, and you buy the textbooks and you start to read and you prepare yourself to learn. That's what you do in a regular university. This university is no different, right? You if you come prepared, if you view it as a real university, meaning that when these things happen, you know that, okay, this is a lesson. What
mhm,
is this lesson? If your posture changes to, okay, what do I need to learn? Because
mhm,
that's how you approach a new course. When you
mhm,
go to university, that's how you approach a new course. You go within Nobody goes to school with the intention of not learning. You go to school with the intention of learning. This university is no different, you
yeah,
know, except that we don't view it as a university. So, and we just go, Lord, why this and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So perception, there's goes John again, guys. So perception is also an important part of it, apart in addition to your posture. Change how you view your life. Change how you're viewing the difficult moments in your life. Stop seeing it as punishment. Stop seeing it as a curse, but now begin to see it as a university that is now allowing you to be promoted, improved, perfected, right? And moving towards God's purpose for your life. And if you see it differently, it doesn't mean it gets easy, but it does make a difference while you're doing the course because you know that you're working towards a goal. You know that there is a reward that is coming. Another one that I want to mention, Jan, is with all of what happens in the wait, and this happened with me. When God works on us, there are times when He will send you to therapy. And I'm talking about getting professional help from someone who's trained because you have to understand we go through a lot of bruising, scars, pain, injuries as a part of life. We do that to each other, we hurt each other. And so a lot of us are walking around with these scars and bruises. And it's at the level, so even if you're now saved and your spirit is renewed and God is shining in your life, you're still warring with all that is already there. All that is already a part of your brain, all that your soul has been struggling with. And this is where you say, okay, therapy helps at that level. So God has freed your soul. Now you can intentionally do therapy for whatever period He allows you and knows that it's done right there. Some people may be fine just from, going through the process with God, but a lot of us, like myself, have benefited from a season of therapy. Right? I
Yeah.
don't do it anymore, but that season, however how long it lasted, was relevant. Right? So if you are seeing signs, and sometimes what God will do is show you what is there. And when He shows you that there are some serious things that are hurting you, there are some conversations you can't have without breaking apart, right? It runs deep, and you're going to need the help of a therapist to
Mhm.
face those things and to overcome them. So be open even to Him using
Somebody else.
somebody else. There is no rule that says that God has to do everything. Remember, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. When He created us, He also created us for each other, right? So that will also be a part of the process. What happens after the waiting period, guys? You go into what I call the walking period. Because what you recognize is life still is not, though life for you will be different after you've submitted yourself to the process, you still are in a world that's broken. You still you are living in a world where the enemy is still very much there, seeking who he can devour.
Oh,
And
right.
his agenda against you doesn't change. He's still trying to nyam you up, trying to get you to shift from your purpose, trying to get you to go into the opposite direction of what God is doing in your life. So therefore, you recognize, hold on, it's not a touch base with God and then run back to my life. You now
Mhm.
have to walk in and by the Spirit of God
Yeah.
for the rest of your university life. You literally need that level of protection, guidance, help for the rest of the journey, for the rest of your university life. You want to get to the stage where God is now leading you completely and leading you every single day, right? That's how now you guarantee that I'm going to do this university thing as best as I can using all the help that God has given me. And the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit is the one who reveals what the other help is. He reveals the truth. He gives us more revelation. He tells us, go left, don't go right. Do this one, don't do that. He literally guides us. And
Yeah.
so we have a help that we can now have a hands on help through the journey who never leaves you, never forsakes you. Him don't need for sleep. He is God. He is powerful. Can you imagine having that aid by your side constantly?
Yep.
So learning even in the waiting season to get close to the Holy Spirit, to understand Him more, so that when the waiting is over, is you and Holy Spirit walking through life for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is it's a beautiful experience that honestly, if you don't go through the process, it'll be pretty difficult to understand.
Yeah.
It,
It's hard
it,
to describe. It
it
doesn't make sense
it's
of
an
that.
yeah, it's an experience thing. It's honestly an experience thing. So we encourage you as you go through this university. We all go through it as Andrea said earlier. It's life. And here's the other thing too. Everybody's journey, as I said earlier, is different, right? Everybody's lessons are different. This is one university where you don't have a set amount of courses, you have several different courses. But one thing that you do have the choice about is your posture, is how you respond to it. So
Yeah.
you can either fight it or you can trust God. You know, people say trust the process. I say trust God, right? Or if you want to say trust the process, trust God's process
Right.
because He has a process for all of us. And so I'm encouraging you to lean in, lean into God during those times when things get tough. There's never a situation that He doesn't have an answer to. And that's the beautiful thing about it. You can lean into the one with all the answers. And you have to, there's one thing that I think we left out, Andrea, is that we have to give up self. We have to give up our knowledge, our understanding. We have to give up our ways of wanting stuff, how we want stuff. We have to give up our ways for His ways.
Yeah. That's a part of the stripping.
That's a part of the stripping, you
And
know.
the,
You have to give that up. You have to give that up. So just remember though that you're never alone. And there's always somebody who can pray with you, who can help you on the journey, who can lead you in the right direction, um, because God will send helpers for
yeah.
you when
Yeah.
you need them. You know,
Yeah.
and there's sometimes, to be very honest, when I'm in that place and I say, Lord, I can't pray, please make somebody pray for me. And literally, somebody will call me and say, "What's going on? I'm praying for you. Why? What's going on?" Always. And so that's the beauty about this relationship with God, you know, um, that even in the midst of the adversity, He is right there in the
Right
midst,
there with you.
right there with
Imagine you're in the fire, in the ocean.
Yes, just like how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was in the fire, the was it the fire or the lake?
Promise. Yeah.
Right. And there was a fourth person in there. He literally walks through the fire with you.
That's
And
right.
you can't want better than that, honestly.
So, guys, be encouraged. Look at your situation differently from this point onwards. Don't be caught up with the stripping process. Of course, it's going to be uncomfortable. Who likes to be stripped? Who likes to be squeezed? Right? But there is a reward
Yeah.
coming out. And we also have a guide and a comfort and a presence who is God. So it really can't get better than that. So tap in, partner with Him in this process because you want your purpose, you want your freedom, you want to be perfected, you want what God intended from Genesis for us. We
Mhm.
really want this. And guess what? This world is not working. So, all the more reason why let's trust God's process and trust His plans that He has for us. He says He has plans to prosper us, give us a hope and a future, right? So let's trust Him more and incorporate Him in the adversity that we're going through and do it together. Okay, guys.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Guys, I must ask you, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We're working on getting to 100 subscribers.
And share. You can share with other
Yes,
people too.
please, and share it with somebody else who is
All
going
right.
through a tough season now. So thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And we'll see you next week.
Have a good night, guys. Love y'all.
Bye.